Welcome to DarkTruth TV, where we delve into the hidden strategies and stories that have shaped our world. Today, we will explore a tactic that has been wielded by empires, leaders, and governments to maintain power and control over centuries. Divide and conquer. The phrase, divide and conquer, might sound familiar, but what does it truly mean? At its core, this strategy involves breaking up larger, more powerful entities into smaller, weaker ones that can be controlled more easily. By fostering divisions and conflicts within a group, a ruler or governing body can prevent any unified opposition and maintain dominance. Throughout history, this approach has been employed with ruthless efficiency. From ancient empires to colonial regimes and even in modern political landscapes, divide and conquer has left a profound impact on societies. Today, we'll uncover how this strategy has been used to manipulate and control populations, and we'll learn how recognizing these tactics can help us build a more united and peaceful world. Join us as we journey through time to explore the roots, applications, and consequences of divide and conquer. This is DarkTruth TV, where we shine a light on the dark histories that have shaped our world. To fully grasp the impact of divide and conquer, we first need to understand what this strategy entails. At its essence, divide and conquer is a method used to break down larger groups into smaller, more manageable factions, preventing them from uniting against a common enemy. This tactic has been employed throughout history to maintain control and dominance. One of the earliest recorded uses of divide and conquer dates back to ancient Rome. Julius Caesar famously used this strategy to conquer Gaul. By pitting local tribes against each other, he weakened their collective power, making it easier for his legions to subdue and control the region. Caesar's ability to exploit existing rivalries among the Gallic tribes ensured that they could not unite against the Roman invasion. Fast forward to the British colonial rule in India. The British Empire effectively used divide and conquer to control the vast and diverse subcontinent. By exacerbating religious and ethnic divisions, and implementing policies that favored certain groups over others, the British were able to maintain their dominance over a population that vastly outnumbered them. The infamous divide and rule policy played a significant role in prolonging British colonial rule in India. In more recent times, the strategy has been adapted to political contexts. Consider the political landscape of the 20th and 21st centuries, where leaders and governments have used media and propaganda to create and deepen divisions within societies. By polarizing public opinion on issues such as race, religion, and ideology, these leaders ensure that their power remains unchallenged, as the populace remains too fragmented to mount a unified opposition. From ancient Rome to modern political arenas, the divide and conquer strategy has proven to be a powerful tool for those seeking to maintain control. Understanding this tactic is crucial, as it allows us to recognize when it is being used against us and to strive for unity in the face of manipulation. One of the most famous practitioners of divide and conquer was Julius Caesar, the Roman general and statesman. His conquest of Gaul, modern-day France, and Belgium, is a prime example of how he used this strategy to expand the Roman Empire. In 58 BC, Julius Caesar began his campaign to conquer Gaul. The region was not a single unified entity but a collection of various tribes, each with its own leaders, customs, and rivalries. Caesar recognized that to conquer Gaul, he needed to exploit these internal divisions. Caesar first targeted the Helvetii, a migratory tribe attempting to move through Roman territories. By defeating them, he sent a clear message to other tribes about the might of Rome. But his real mastery of divide and conquer came in his dealings with the Gallic tribes themselves. Caesar formed alliances with certain tribes, such as the Aedui, who were in conflict with the powerful Arverni tribe and their allies, the Sequani. By supporting the Aedui, Caesar secured their loyalty and created a divide between them and other tribes. This prevented a unified Gallic front against Rome. In 52 BC, during the revolt led by Vercingetorix, Caesar's strategy was put to the test. Vercingetorix managed to unite several Gallic tribes against the Romans, posing a significant threat. However, Caesar's prior efforts to sow discord paid off. Some tribes remained loyal to Rome, and others were hesitant to fully support Vercingetorix due to lingering rivalries and distrust. The decisive battle came at Alesia, where Vercingetorix and his forces were besieged by Caesar. Despite attempts to break the siege, the divided Gallic forces could not coordinate effectively. Caesar's engineering skills and strategic prowess won the day, leading to Vercingetorix's surrender and the eventual Roman domination of Gaul. Caesar's use of divide and conquer ensured that the Gallic tribes were too fragmented to resist effectively. By exploiting their rivalries and securing strategic alliances, he was able to conquer a region that, if united, might have been too formidable even for Rome. This real-life event underscores the power of divide and conquer as a strategy. It allowed Julius Caesar to expand the Roman Empire significantly and solidify his own power, leaving a lasting legacy on the history of Rome and the world. The British Empire's rule over India stands as one of the most striking examples of divide and conquer in modern history. By manipulating existing divisions and creating new ones, the British were able to control a vast and diverse subcontinent for nearly 2 centuries. When the British East India Company first arrived in India in the early 17th century, they encountered a land of immense diversity. India was a patchwork of different kingdoms, religions, languages, and cultures. The British quickly realized that to rule over such a diverse population, they needed to exploit these differences to their advantage. One of the primary ways the British employed divide and conquer was through the manipulation of religious and ethnic divisions. The Indian society was deeply segmented along religious lines, primarily between Hindus and Muslims. The British used these divisions to their advantage by implementing policies that favored one group over the other, creating resentment and distrust between communities. For instance, the British introduced separate electorates for Muslims in 1909 through the Morley Minto reforms. This policy ensured that Muslims would have separate representatives in the legislative councils, ostensibly to protect their interests. However, this move effectively institutionalized religious divisions and prevented the development of a unified national identity that could challenge British rule. Another tactic was the manipulation of caste divisions. The British classified and codified the Indian population into rigid caste categories through their census operations. By emphasizing and formalizing caste distinctions, they deepened social hierarchies and divisions. This prevented the various social groups from uniting against the colonial rulers. The British also played local rulers against each other. India at the time was not a unified country but a collection of princely states and territories. The British signed treaties with these local rulers, promising them protection and autonomy in exchange for their loyalty and cooperation. By doing so, they created a system where local rulers were more concerned with maintaining their own power and privileges rather than uniting against the British. One notable example of this tactic was the doctrine of lapse, introduced by Lord Dalhousie in the mid-19th century. According to this doctrine, any princely state or territory under direct or indirect British control would automatically be annexed if the ruler was either manifestly incompetent or died without a direct heir. This policy created a sense of insecurity among the Indian princes, making them more likely to align with British interests to secure their own positions. During the Indian Rebellion of 1857, also known as the First War of Indian Independence, the British effectively used divide and conquer to quell the uprising. They exploited divisions among the rebels, who were a diverse group with varying motivations and lacked a unified leadership. The British promised rewards and concessions to those who remained loyal and used brutal force against those who resisted, successfully suppressing the rebellion. The aftermath of the rebellion saw the formal end of the East India Company's rule and the establishment of direct British Crown control over India. The British government continued to use divide and conquer tactics to maintain their grip on the subcontinent. They promoted the idea of martial races. Certain ethnic groups like Sikhs, Gurkhas, and Pathans were considered more martial, and thus favored in military recruitment, creating further divisions. The culmination of these divisive tactics was seen during the partition of India in 1947. The British decision to partition India into two separate states, India and Pakistan, was influenced by the deep religious divisions they had long exacerbated. The partition led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history and significant communal violence, the effects of which are still felt today. The British divide and conquer strategy in India was highly effective in maintaining control over a diverse and populous region. However, it left a legacy of division and conflict that has persisted long after the end of colonial rule. This historical example underscores the destructive potential of such tactics and the importance of unity in the face of division. The Rwandan genocide of 1994 is one of the most horrific events of the 20th century, resulting in the deaths of approximately 800,000 people in just 100 days. To understand how such a tragedy could unfold, we must look at the historical roots of the conflict, particularly the divide and conquer tactics employed by colonial powers. Rwanda, a small country in Central Africa, was initially colonized by Germany in the late 19th century. However, following Germany's defeat in World War I, Rwanda was mandated to Belgium by the League of Nations in 1923. The Belgian colonial administration played a significant role in exacerbating ethnic divisions between the Hutu and Tutsi populations, which laid the groundwork for future conflict. Historically, the Hutu and Tutsi were not strictly separate ethnic groups. The terms Hutu and Tutsi referred more to social categories than rigid ethnic distinctions, with the Tutsi typically associated with cattle herding and the Hutu with agriculture. There was significant social mobility between the two groups, and intermarriage was common. The Belgian colonial rulers, however, sought to create clear divisions between the Hutu and Tutsi to facilitate their control over Rwanda. They introduced identity cards in the 1930s that classified people strictly as either Hutu or Tutsi based on physical characteristics, such as height and the width of their noses, and economic status. This arbitrary classification entrenched ethnic identities and created a rigid social hierarchy. The Belgians favored the Tutsi minority, who made up about 14% of the population, over the Hutu majority, who comprised roughly 85%. They believed the Tutsi were more European in appearance and thus superior. Tutsis were given better educational opportunities, higher positions in the colonial administration, and preferential treatment in economic and social spheres. This favoritism created resentment and tension between the Hutu and Tutsi. The divide and conquer strategy was evident as the Belgians relied on the Tutsi to help administer the colony, enforcing colonial policies and collecting taxes. By placing the Tutsi in positions of power, the Belgians ensured that the Tutsi elite were dependent on the colonial rulers for their status and privileges, thereby weakening any potential unified resistance against colonial rule. As independence movements swept across Africa in the mid-20th century, Rwanda was no exception. The growing resentment among the Hutu majority towards the privileged Tutsi minority, nurtured by decades of Belgian favoritism, began to manifest more openly. The colonial authorities, sensing the winds of change, shifted their support to the Hutu majority as a means to maintain control over the transition period. This abrupt switch further deepened ethnic animosities. In 1959, a Hutu uprising led to widespread violence, resulting in the deaths of many Tutsis and the displacement of thousands more, who fled to neighboring countries. This period of violence marked the beginning of a series of ethnic clashes that would continue sporadically over the next few decades. Rwanda gained independence in 1962, with a Hutu-led government coming to power. The new government institutionalized discrimination against the Tutsi, reversing the previous order but perpetuating the cycle of division. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, the Hutu-led government under President Juvenal Habyarimana maintained its grip on power by exploiting ethnic divisions. The rhetoric of Hutu supremacy and the portrayal of Tutsis as eternal enemies were used to consolidate Hutu unity and distract from internal political and economic issues. The seeds of hatred sown by colonial, divide and conquer tactics continued to grow, nurtured by a government that used ethnic identity as a tool of political control. The situation escalated dramatically in the early 1990s. The Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, a rebel group composed mainly of Tutsi exiles, invaded Rwanda from Uganda in 1990, seeking to overthrow the Hutu-dominated government and secure the right of return for Tutsi refugees. This invasion heightened ethnic tensions and led to a brutal civil war. The Hutu government and extremist groups began preparing for a final solution to the Tutsi problem, culminating in the horrific events of 1994. On April 6, 1994, President Habyarimana's plane was shot down, killing him and sparking the genocide. Extremist Hutu leaders quickly seized the opportunity to launch a coordinated and systematic campaign of mass murder against the Tutsi population and moderate Hutus. Over the next 100 days, an estimated 800,000 people were slaughtered in a frenzy of violence, driven by decades of ethnic division and hatred. The legacy of colonial divide and conquer tactics played a crucial role in the genocide. The arbitrary and rigid classification of ethnic identities, the favoritism towards one group over another, and the instigation of mutual animosity by colonial powers created a volatile environment. These divisions were manipulated and amplified by subsequent leaders to maintain control, ultimately leading to one of the most devastating genocides in modern history. The Rwandan genocide serves as a tragic reminder of the destructive power of divide and conquer strategies. It underscores the importance of fostering unity and reconciliation in the aftermath of such deep-seated divisions. Today, Rwanda has made significant strides in promoting national unity and healing, but the scars of the past serve as a powerful lesson for the world. Understanding the historical roots of the Rwandan genocide, including the colonial tactics of divide and conquer, is essential for preventing such atrocities in the future. It reminds us of the importance of building inclusive and cohesive societies that resist the forces of division. While the term divide and conquer often brings to mind historical conquests and colonial rule, the strategy is very much alive in our modern world. Today, it manifests through politics and media, subtly shaping societies and influencing public opinion. One vivid example is the political landscape in many democracies. Politicians and political parties often use divide and conquer tactics to gain and maintain power. By exploiting societal divisions based on race, religion, class, and ideology, they can fragment the electorate and rally support from specific segments of the population. Take, for instance, the use of divisive rhetoric in election campaigns. Politicians may highlight and exaggerate differences between groups to create a sense of us versus them. This can be seen in the way certain candidates might focus on issues like immigration, presenting it as a threat to national security and economic stability. By doing so, they appeal to nationalist sentiments and fears, garnering votes from those who feel threatened by the presence of immigrants. A striking example is the 2016 U.S. presidential election. The campaign saw a significant use of divisive tactics. Issues such as immigration, race relations, and economic disparity were leveraged to create stark contrasts between different segments of the population. The use of inflammatory language and targeted messaging on social media platforms amplified these divisions, resulting in a deeply polarized electorate. Media plays a crucial role in this modern divide-and-conquer strategy. News outlets, social media, and other forms of communication can be used to spread divisive narratives. In many cases, media companies have a vested interest in maintaining viewer engagement, and nothing captures attention quite like controversy and conflict. For example, sensationalist reporting and biased news coverage can deepen societal divisions. Certain media outlets may cater to specific ideological or demographic groups, presenting news in a way that reinforces existing beliefs and prejudices. This selective coverage can create echo chambers, where people are only exposed to viewpoints that align with their own, further entrenching divisions. Social media algorithms also play a significant role. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube use algorithms designed to maximize user engagement. These algorithms often prioritize content that elicits strong emotional reactions, such as anger or fear. As a result, divisive and sensationalist content is more likely to be promoted and shared, spreading quickly and widely. A well-known instance of this is the spread of misinformation and fake news. During the COVID-19 pandemic, various false narratives about the virus, vaccines, and government responses proliferated online. These narratives often played on existing political and ideological divisions, leading to widespread mistrust and conflict over public health measures. The role of foreign interference in domestic politics is another example. There have been numerous reports of foreign entities using social media to influence elections and sow discord in other countries. By spreading false information and promoting divisive content, these actors aim to weaken societal cohesion and destabilize political systems. Understanding these modern applications of divide and conquer is crucial. By recognizing the tactics used to exploit divisions, we can become more critical consumers of information and more resilient to manipulation. It's essential to seek out diverse perspectives, engage in constructive dialogue, and work towards bridging divides rather than deepening them. In a world increasingly driven by information and media, the ability to discern truth from manipulation is more important than ever. As we navigate these challenges, let's strive to build a society where unity and understanding prevail over division and conflict. A contemporary example of divide and conquer tactics causing societal mistrust and conflict is the Russian interference in the 2016 United States presidential election. This event demonstrates how modern technology and media can be manipulated to deepen divisions and destabilize societies. In the lead-up to the 2016 election, various reports and investigations revealed a sophisticated campaign by Russian operatives to influence the outcome and sow discord among the American populace. This interference was primarily conducted through social media platforms, where Russian agents created and amplified divisive content. The Internet Research Agency, IRA, a Russian organization linked to the Kremlin, played a central role in this effort. The IRA used fake social media accounts, often posing as American citizens, to spread inflammatory messages and false information. These accounts targeted sensitive issues such as race relations, immigration, gun control, and political affiliations. One of the most striking examples was the creation of fake social media pages and groups that appeared to support various causes and communities. For instance, the IRA created pages like Blacktivist, which purported to be an African American activist group, and Heart of Texas, which promoted Texan nationalism. These pages garnered significant followings and engagement, spreading messages designed to inflame tensions. The content shared by these fake accounts ranged from memes and articles to event invitations and advertisements. They often presented extreme and polarizing viewpoints, aiming to provoke strong emotional reactions. By doing so, the IRA successfully deepened existing societal divisions, making it harder for people to find common ground. One tactic was organizing and promoting real-life events on opposing sides of an issue. For example, in May 2016, the IRA organized both a pro-Muslim rally and an anti-Muslim protest in Houston, Texas, on the same day and at the same location. The intention was to create a confrontation between the two groups, escalating tensions and mistrust. The spread of fake news and misinformation was another critical aspect of the Russian campaign. False stories, often sensational and misleading, were disseminated widely across social media platforms. These stories were designed to exploit biases and fears, leading to further polarization. Topics included false claims about candidates, conspiracy theories, and misleading information about voting processes. The impact of these divide and conquer tactics was profound. The American public became increasingly divided, with deep-seated mistrust growing between different political and social groups. The election saw a marked increase in hostility and suspicion, as well as a decline in the perceived legitimacy of the democratic process itself. After the election, investigations by the U.S. intelligence community, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, and various congressional committees confirmed the extent of the Russian interference. These investigations concluded that the primary goal was to undermine public faith in the democratic process, exacerbate social divisions, and ultimately weaken the United States. The long-term effects of this interference are still being felt today. American society remains deeply polarized, and the trust in media and political institutions has been significantly eroded. The event serves as a powerful reminder of how divide-and-conquer tactics can be adapted to the digital age, causing widespread societal mistrust and conflict. Understanding this real-life application of divide and conquer highlights the importance of media literacy, critical thinking, and vigilance against external manipulation. As we move forward, it is crucial to foster unity and resilience, ensuring that our societies are less susceptible to such divisive tactics. At DarkTruth TV, our mission is to uncover these hidden strategies and bring awareness to the tactics that shape our world. By shedding light on these issues, we hope to empower our viewers with the knowledge needed to build a more unified and just society. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and join us in our quest for the truth.